This will be just an update on emails I sent today. I received some emails about non-existent email addresses. Somehow they're non-existent, but I described that in a previous video on this topic, previous update. So I'll just go through this. First I'll show a list of emails that I sent this email to. So this is basically a warning before international lawsuit for people who were visiting, actually this is first the doctor from state hospital who hasn't treated me correctly. So without that I would not be forced to go to that private hospital where I was injected something and ended up with 4 cancers in my eye. So 4 eye melanomas, which is really rare case. As I explained, I found only pictures with 1 eye melanoma in eye. So and of course because those were 2 doctors, which is also very strange, so they were changed in the middle of my therapy. So those were Russian doctors, and even Russian embassy is doing nothing about my notification what happened. So this is the email to the doctor. He's the head of ophthalmology in Novi Sad, Link Central Vojvodina. So I gave him details on what should have been done and what's done. Then this is for my uncle who owes me some money and who could prevented what happened, murders of my family, at least my father and my grandfather, because I won't go into details, but he had some sort of privileged position. I described here what happened because he doesn't know what happened, and I asked him to give me the money that my grandfather borrowed him, if he hadn't done that, because my grandfather hadn't notified me that he returned him the money. So it was like almost 30 years ago. I mean, the time when he borrowed him the money. Okay, so this is for my neighbors and cousins, because they were communicating with a psychiatric patient who killed 3 members of my family, although I notified them what she has done. And there's a main example that most of the people were serious about those information that I understand that they understand that those information are not false. They trusted me about those information, so I gave best example one of best friends, and he was also a cousin. He is also my cousin. My father worked with him in the same company. So after I notified most of my neighbors what's happening and what happened, they stopped visiting the psychiatric patient. But those other few neighbors, and also some of them are my cousins, didn't take me seriously, and they continue doing that, giving the basically giving the psychiatric patient, and I notified them that she's a psychiatric patient, that she murdered 3 members of my family, and basically they were supporting her and giving her alibi, which makes me look like an idiot, that I don't know what I'm talking about, and so on and so on. But now when even military threatened me, and not to mention that the FBI, Interpol ignored me even in 2019, then recently, last week, even FBI ignored me, NATO and European Commission, because everything leads to the one who's really protected, not the psychiatric patient. The one who's really protected are some ex-politician, and he has ties to foreign embassies. So this is why this happened, and this is to two people who are in charge in the place where my father lived in country. So I sent them this to forward to the other people, because they might not have email. So one of them, this first guy, is one who actually was responsible for the procedural. He works for the state, his state staff. He was responsible for procedural marrying my father and stepmother, quoted, because she admitted in the Skype and mobile calls that are on my YouTube channel that she doesn't know why she married my father. Basically, that means that she admits that my father was forced to marry her, which is what happened. She constantly denies that, but even the fact that she is responsible for death of my grandfather and father, that fact alone prevents her from inheriting anything. But of course, since judges and prosecution ignore everything, I will then try. I mean, not try. This is possible. It's just about. It will just depend on the people who signed, who are witnesses, because you have 2 witnesses on when when people are marrying, to confirm that they signed that marrying is sort of an agreement. So they signed the paper as witnesses, and I asked the guy who was responsible for the procedure to forward this warning before lawsuit, prior to lawsuit, to those people, with all the data they need, which are on my Twitter and the YouTube channel. So everything is there, and I asked them to withdraw their 2 signatures on that paper they signed. So I gave him then two reasons why this is possible. First is that I called several banks, because their agreements are very strict, loan agreements and stuff, and you also have witnesses there. So what I asked them, what happens if some of the witnesses who guarantees that money will be returned, in case the one who was borrowed the money cannot return the money. So what happens is that person who is witness withdraw the signature, and they weren't able to answer. So which means that I'm right, and that, of course, because it doesn't work for them. Because they haven't answered, none of the banks, so these are international banks. So I asked, I called only international banks because I'm from Serbia. If you're watching only this video. So I gave as an example this first, as a proof actually, I gave as a proof that this is possible, this first example with banks, and the second example that is proof this is possible is something that happened before or right after war in Bosnia started, actually former Yugoslavia. So I'll just play this clip. I set everything in the right time.
Like it? Why sign it? Alia took the American advice and withdrew his signature, fortified his power, and the Americans recognized.
So as you can see, this was Lisbon Peace Agreement. So if it can be done for peace agreement, which is the highest level international one, and the most important international agreement, so it can be done for any agreement. And of course, the psychiatric patient cannot marry my father again because he's dead. I mean, he cannot marry his tombstone. And so I asked him to forward this to those two people. One of them is my neighbor, who's close to my house. So I'm in distance. It's not a long distance. It's not far away from my home. And but I want to contact him directly. And what is also important is that stepmother quoted psychiatric patient first blamed my grandfather that he convinced her to marry my father. Actually, what my father said is that she forced him to marry her because she wanted to be sure that me and my brother will take care of her, and she still hasn't answered. They married in 2008, and she still hasn't answered my question. I asked her multiple times and I recorded, I think, most of those times. Why she wasn't sure that we won't be taking care of her, because I'm a scientist and my brother is a priest. And what's more important is this video on my channel, which shows that actually her closest family are let me find that video, it's here, are high profile criminals. So not regular criminals, but high profile criminals. So I explained here who are those people, his family, and I gave pictures of autopsy of my grandfather. He suffered a lot. He was pushed in the lobby of my house in country and left there for more than 5 hours. Demented man, old man, he was more than 8 years old, and then doctors also basically were torturing him. They still haven't answered about any of my accusations. So this is her sister, who actually introduced her to my brother and then to my father. So these people are high-profile criminals, and I have information that she is also a psychiatric patient, so a long-term psychiatric patient. These guys, son-in-law of her other sister who died, so other sister psychiatric patient, and as you can see here, he is high-profile criminal. All the newspapers in Serbia wrote about the corruption affair there. So you see, these are all the most popular newspapers in Serbia. And that's the guy. And the son of that woman that I just shown to her sister is closest associate to former Slobodan Milošević minister. He's 20 years, more than 20 years international in organized crime in Serbia. I don't know if it is international, but probably is international, just domestic. So that guy did a huge favor because he, that Ivković, Bana Ivković, his woman, second wife was until recently the second person in after the minister. She was secretary. Although she doesn't have a proper education, she studied economy. She was until recently the secretary of Ministry of Interior. And the newspapers wrote about her connections to organized crime. So it's not none of these people are into regular crime, but organized crime. So this is that second wife of that guy. Ivković. Let me see if I have. I should have here. Yeah, this is Ivković. So he convinced Milošević, Slobodan Milošević, former president of former Yugoslavia, to surrender to Hague, and he accused him of that publicly. So I also gave here the article on that. So of course, as he did huge favors to foreign embassies, then he's not protected, because if he falls, if he falls, then some very high-profile politician internationally will fall. Okay, so that was basically about psychiatric patient and her family. So someone whose closest family is related to international organized crime. And organized crime, domestic, didn't believe that me and my brother Will, which we never stole anything. Maybe I think I stole something when I was really young. I don't know, it was light or something like that. Okay, so this is basically what happened, and I'm now, because in elementary court in Smederevo and higher instance court of in Smederevo, they committed major frauds regarding inheritance procedure of after my father died, and as I maybe mentioned, because this is I don't know, fifth video today, sixth I created. So as I might mention already, so even the major of military police called me, threatening me, not directly of course, one day before cadastre, which is a state institution dealing with geodata, properties, the ownership of properties, and so on and so on. So he called me one day before cadastre changed that illegally. So those data and gave three. I mean, it's still not finished, and tried to give psychiatric patient, monstrous murder of my family, third on my property. Okay, so let me show you where this video of army threatening me is. So it should be this one. He's the head of that. So that military officer, so high rank military officer. It's not a regular army but military police. I mean, not a regular, what's the correct term? Like a regular type of, I mean, you know what I mean. So it was military police. Those are people who are only, who can only arrest military. So regular police cannot arrest any people who are military or who are soldiers. So that also means a lot. So they called me to make sure that that fraud goes as they planned, but this can change. Then this won't end up as they planned, because even Interpol ignored me, and now even YouTube is not banning anymore my videos. You know, there is some highly compromising content. So that would be it for this email. The other email is just a forwarding of email sent to these people. So this is a notification on new threats to my death threats to my family, to my brother, and to my mother. And I gave to those people some general overview of what's happening, some update. And this is email which was described in previous update on emails I sent. And then I just need to show basically the same two emails but sent to other recipients. So this is the one. Actually, I don't need to. Okay, so this is the list of emails that I sent this email to. So I won't go to details because I explained everything in other emails, who those recipients are. So this is basically the same email I just described, and also the other one with the general update. And this is something I described in previous video from yesterday. So okay, that should be everything for today regarding emails. I don't think I will send any new mails today. Okay, that's it.